Hey everyone, welcome to Smash Trivia. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia to follow everything happening with me. I'll be the one with the big old green head in the profile picture. I'm so excited to get into this. This is the Gamma Analysis. Basically, in this series, I'm going to review everything Hulk. But in this episode, I'm actually not reviewing Hulk. Hope you enjoy Smash Trivia Presents the Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening if they could please do something for me. Please share the hell out of this podcast with all your friends because I really want to get the Gamma Analysis to be big enough that by the time She-Hulk comes out, maybe I could become press and either get the first episode early or get invited to the premiere or even get one of the press goodie bags. For this episode, I'm going to review Spider-Man No Way Home. And this special episode will actually be unedited. Just so you know, this is not a critical podcast. Every episode of mine will always try to put out positive vibes. So while I will mention a couple of things that I don't like, I won't dwell on them. And the majority of my review would be things I like in it. And with that being said, I have a guest today, and I will not force him to follow the same code of positivity if he doesn't want to. Our guest today is Richard Nebens from the Direct and The Illuminerdi. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm doing great. And I think it's gonna be. This is a pretty damn easy movie to to do your positivity thing on because what a movie.
Yeah. So I have a trivia question for you. In the comics, when Spider-Man was first offered membership in the Avengers, he was required to catch what superpowered being as a test. Do you have any answer for that?
Oh, I am not as caught up on the comics as I should be. I'm going to take a wild guess here. I've got a couple I'm thinking. I'm actually going to go one of the villains from Spider-Man No Way Home. I have no idea if it's right. Wild guess, throw at the wall. I'm going to say the Lizard. I'm going to take a wild guess.
Well, I will reveal the answer to that later in the show. All right. So there's so much in this film. So I'm probably going to get a lot for this review, but I'm going to do my best. Lots of spoilers ahead.
All the spoilers.
Yes. So first off, I want because though there is so much to love in this film, I do want to get a few things out of the way that I didn't like. The one first thing that I had here was there wasn't enough Matt Murdock in the film. It really wasn't.
Oh man.
Let's see.
Yeah. No. And if I could quickly say the Matt Murdock thing, I am just so happy he is in the MCU. Officially, we've been hearing this for a year and a half now, and I was not going to believe it until it actually came on screen, and it came on screen, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. Next thing I didn't really like in the film was I didn't understand why Happy got arrested when he got home to see Peter mourning Aunt May, and why he didn't even try to be to run over to her since we know that he loves her.
Oof.
That was a little weird to me that he didn't run over to her, and also also that he just got arrested. Like what? I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, it seemed like everybody got arrested at some point in this movie.
Yeah. And then my next thing I had was, why did Venom and Eddie come to the MCU just to sit in a bar getting drunk?
Getting drunk with the guy from Ted Lasso. Yeah.
Oh my God. I actually honestly I understood why they even were brought into the MCU, since with the it being because of people who knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man, but someone actually someone explained to me that it was because of that multiversal hive mind thing, I guess. Even though I think that's
80 billion light years of hive mentality would explode your tiny little mind.
Even though I kind of feel like that's pretty cheap a call just to get them there for a cameo.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed about that too. I mean, I don't think they're good movies, but I enjoy the Venom movies enough. They're just they're kind of what a superhero movie should be, just a great time.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I was kind of bummed, but it's not all bad, I think, in that regard, because we still got that little Venom symbiote tease. We'll probably get into more of that later.
Yeah. Yeah. The next time I didn't really like was I didn't like the spell at the end because that means that he has no connection to the Avengers, and MJ, Ned, or Happy. None of them would be coming back in the next Spider-Man film. Like, particularly like with Happy, that even though he's not a Spider-Man character, that means most likely he's never going to appear again.
Right. I mean, I hope that's not the case. I really hope they find some way to work them back into the movies. But yeah, no, it's tough. They really went hard on the whole Peter sacrificing everything thing. It was rough.
And like that thing to me was like, seriously, the multiverse is about to break right again. So it's kind of for nothing, this sacrifice. So I'm like, you literally just made it so that that all of those supporting actors, they're not going to be able to most likely come back in their act, and it really was for at least in my opinion, for no good reason. If the multiverse is just going to break again in just a few months,
right? Yeah, no, it's gonna be tough. I'm gonna miss those guys. I hope they find a way back in somehow, but that was rough.
Yeah, and also I hope that this doesn't mean that that he's not going to get to appear with the rest of the Avengers anymore, because like to me it kind of felt like almost as if this was a way that they can take Spider-Man out of the MCU without taking him out of the MCU.
Right. If for some reason, I didn't actually think about that. Like somehow, if they wanted to like separate the Sonyverse from the MCU, but I'm just glad that they're still going with it somehow, and hopefully they'll be able to work it out in a good way.
It kind of feels like they're making it so like how they said that the Venom verse and the and Morbius is MCU adjacent. That's how I kind of felt like it was trying to make it.
Yeah, a little bit.
The next thing I put, which this goes along with the first thing of not enough Matt Murdock, was I wish we actually got to see Peter's name be cleared.
Yeah, I wish that too,
because it felt weird how they just skipped to, oh yeah, he's cleared now. Some people don't like it, but he's not going to jail or anything now.
Right, exactly. And it was funny. I was actually thinking about kind of tying back to that a little bit. I just thought of something. How it didn't tie into the Accords at all. Like they didn't bring that up at all. And like I didn't even think about that until just now. That would have been kind of a cool thing to at least mention for a second. Yeah,
like I feel like since obviously the military was after him in the film, like a cameo for Ross, that would have been great.
Oh yeah, he would have been all over the Spidey stuff.
Though it may be that he's not as concerned about the Accords anymore, since it seems like he may be making the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah, though they haven't really connected him to what's probably going to be the Thunderbolts at all yet.
Right. There's still plenty of time for that.
Yeah. Let's see. My next thing that I wasn't a fan of, I think it should have been a little bit longer so that everything has time to breathe. Because I think that goes along with how the reason I did doing this episode as a scene by scene analysis instead of my normal way is because there's so much in the film. Because of it not having time to breathe, I feel like that makes it so it's harder to remember everything that's in it. Right. Yeah, no. It was funny. I was really excited actually when there was an original runtime, I think of like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something. I think it didn't even need to be a lot longer. And they did pack a ton of information into a 2.5 hour movie. Yeah. And I mean, I loved it. It was amazing. But no, I think it could have benefited from another 5-10 minutes of runtime just on one or two scenes here and there. Yeah, how I kind of felt was like how there are a lot of people when WandaVision came out where they were like, these episodes feel like they're going too quickly, and there's so much going on, and I'm like, that's how I kind of felt with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. My last thing that I have for things I didn't like was they still found a way to keep this from being the first time that fuck is uttered in the MCU that's actually in its entirety, entirety. And the reason I particularly really want them to get that done is because I want it done before Deadpool 3 comes out, because it won't be special if it's in Deadpool 3.
Yeah, you know how I've always pictured it. I want it to be Deadpool somehow in the movie, but I want it to be somebody else that gives the first F-bomb. Like, and then Deadpool, it's got to be in a PG-13 movie, so you only get the one, and it has to be somebody other than Deadpool, so that it's just a stream of bleeps and blurs, and it's Deadpool just cursing like crazy for about a minute straight. That's how I want it.
And I want him to like make reference to being like, you guys aren't gonna allow me to curse. Well, I'm gonna make you guys editors' jobs a living hell. I'll just
get
saying
ready,
everything. Honestly, like what I was hoping for was at the end of Infinity War, I wanted, instead of Captain America saying, "Oh God," I was thinking it would be great if he had said, "Oh fuck," because that would because for a character who doesn't curse, or
absolutely,
show how the desperation in that scene. I mean, I think it would have been beautiful. But then in Endgame, they're just like, oh yeah, he curses now.
Yeah, they kind of went really far in that direction in Endgame.
Yeah, which I think is so funny because, like, so back when those films were coming out, I was in some Facebook groups for Marvel, and I told people this is a time I wish happened, and the people in those groups were like, no, that's against what Captain America's character is. And then seeing it in Endgame how he just curses as regularly, it's like, oh, that's funny. I bet you guys are annoyed.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, for sure.
Is there anything that you want to mention and that you didn't like in the film before we get on to the rest of it?
No, I mean, I think you pretty much covered it. I don't think there was anything that I like outright disliked. There are a couple like lines in there I think they could have thrown in for some funny stuff, for some moments there. Maybe we'll get to them when we get to those moments. But like, I don't know if you do rankings at all on this show, but I
haven't. But I think this is definitely my favorite Spider-Man film now, with just behind it being Homecoming, because I just love how Homecoming, like, it feels self-contained, but it's also very much connected to everything else.
Yeah, like, this isn't only my favorite Spider-Man movie. I'm not afraid to say this is my favorite MCU movie ever. Like, this beat out Infinity War, it beat out Endgame. This was something else for me.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Like,
and I've been a Spider-Man fan for 20 years, and this is like the Spider-Man movie of all Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, something that I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, the younger generations aren't gonna understand how big of a deal this is because they aren't watching those older films. I'm like, I am Generation Z, and I grew up on Tobey Maguire. Like, my first the first movie that I remember going to see in theaters was Spider-Man 3. Like,
God. Yeah,
so,
you know what?
Yeah.
The first one I remember seeing was the first one, actually. The first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I was like 11 when that movie came out. So yeah, I mean, it's exact same thing here.
It's just so nostalgic. The one thing about like Tobey Maguire, the film that I thought was really funny, they kept how he that sort of flat acting feel that he had in those first three films, which I thought was hilarious.
I love that. It was funny. I actually watched the first one on TV today, most of it, and I just noticed, like, after seeing No Way Home, that it's the same exact thing. Like, they really kept him the same Spider-Man as he was 20 years ago.
Yeah, like I think mainly the reason why I noticed it so much is I actually this week like watched all the previous live action Spider-Man movies again before going to see the
Mhm.
film. So it was like, which was such a cool experience, and I've never done something like that before or going to see one of the new films. Uh,
Yeah, it was great though.
mhm. So I will start the rest of my regular review. So I did honestly. I started this as doing it how I normally would, and then pretty quickly after that, I went into just the scene by scene analysis. So I'll just start with how I normally do it and go into that. Firstly, I love how much we got of J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson in the
Yes.
film.
Yes.
But honestly, it surprised me how much he was in it.
Me too. I mean, it felt like he had a solid at least like 15, 20 minutes of screen time. I mean, it was really spread out,
Mhm.
but I love that they
Oh
actually like
yeah,
brought him back as a legitimate personality.
yeah. It wasn't just a joke, which I feel
Absolutely.
like they could have easily taken as, oh, he's just a joke or something.
Yeah, like I remember when he first came into the post credit scene in Far From Home, I was so excited just to see him back, and I mean, especially once this movie got so crowded with stuff, I didn't know how big of a role he would have,
Mm-hmm.
but they did a really good job with making him like an important part of the story.
Mm-hmm. Like there was one point while I was watching, it was like, you know what would have been really cool if they brought in the actual J. Jonah Jameson from the Tobey Maguire universe and had him
Right.
interact with the new one. Oh
Oh
my
my god,
god.
both of them interacting with each other, that would have been so weird.
Yeah. And like
Oh man.
I don't think Marvel has done anything like that before, where they've done like two of the same actor in the same room before, but it definitely can work or can work pretty well where it's very seamless, even on small budget TV. So they could definitely do something perfect with that.
I mean, they did it a little bit with the cat versus cat fight at Endgame,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that was about it so far.
Hmm. Yeah. The next thing I had was I thought it was really funny how they canonized the whiny fans who like to call Tom
Oh god,
Holland's Peter Iron
Iron
Boy
Boy
Joe
Jr.
Jr. Like,
Yeah, that was pretty great actually.
yeah, I bet it pissed those people off that make those jokes.
Right. No, that was a pretty big shot at those kind of people. Like,
Uh,
but I will say, like this movie, I think more than anything, really dispelled that nickname. I
mhm,
mean, this was
yeah.
the most like Spider-Man that Tom Holland Spider-Man has ever felt
Mhm,
to the MCU. Not that his other movies didn't before.
yeah, I can see that. The next thing I had, at this is something I may be wrong about, but this is something I particularly aim to have remembered. But I think that we got to see a fixed Delmar's Del Grocery when Peter and MJ get out of the sewer, which I think is a really
Mm.
cool detail if that actually is true.
I'll have to go back and check that out next time I go see the movie.
Yeah, because that would be. I think it would make sense that after it would be 6 years, I think, since his got burned or got
Let's
exploded.
see. Well, let's see. So this one would take place in 2024. So
And
it'd
then
be about
7.
7. Yeah.
Yeah. So it definitely
Actually,
would
maybe,
be
maybe
enough
8.
time.
Maybe 8 because Homecoming
Yeah.
was only 2 months after Civil War.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that it that would be a surprising detail if it's true, but it's really cool.
Hope so.
I my next thing was I love that Murdoch feels exactly the same as he did in the Netflix show.
Yes.
So I love that they got all 3 teachers from Homecoming and Far From Home back for a bit, even though it was only for one scene. And I think it's
Yeah.
really funny that Coach Wilson is on the Mephisto train, not Mephisto, Mysterio train.
Yeah. Someday, one of these characters is going to be on the Mephisto train because we've only been talking about it for a year, and
But it
but
really
yeah.
would be funny though if like they put some character in a film being like, who every time there's a villain pops up, it's like It's the devil. It's definitely the devil who's doing it.
They're gonna do that, and it's gonna be hilarious. But
Oh,
yeah, no, that was really cool seeing those guys come back, even for a minute. I remember I actually wrote an exclusive from with the Illuminerdi that I think it was that Wilson and Harrington would both be back, and I know it was just for the one scene, but it was cool seeing them back.
Yeah, I was really happy that Coach Wilson came back because he didn't come back in Far From Home, and I remember really liking him in the first film.
Yeah.
So the next thing I wrote was that in the trailers, Doctor Strange, he seemed off, but he didn't seem off at all in the actual film.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And then I was surprised that we found out that Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme because of the blip.
That was really funny, just on a technicality. And which makes it even more interesting too why he was doing cage fights in Macau and Shang-Chi. That's gonna have to be something that we're gonna have to explore later.
Definitely, though I don't know. I'm wondering where we'll explore that, since I imagine Abomination's probably not coming back in Doctor Strange, but he is coming back in She-Hulk.
Right.
So I saw someone on Twitter say something about the Wong thing. I'm like, which is really interesting but very dark. What has happened for Doctor Strange to become the Sorcerer Supreme? And I think it's that Wong has to die.
Oh man, that'd be something if Wong actually dies for Strange to become Sorcerer Supreme. That's gonna be a big one.
It could be they could do a twist on it if that it's the evil Doctor Strange who kills him, and the evil Doctor Strange becomes Sorcerer Supreme in the MCU.
Oh, that'd be a twist.
Yeah. So see, and I think this is at the point where I started going to scene by scene analysis is after. Though I didn't go from the beginning any of it, because I feel like most of the stuff from the beginning was already talked about with those things. I wrote after the spell breaks things, Doctor Strange gets mad at Peter for doing this is before even trying to apply for college, which I thought was really funny.
That was
for college.
That was hilarious. He's just realizing that he's still a 17-year-old kid who doesn't think about that kind of stuff.
Oh man. It surprised me as well though that versus in the trailer, Wong was like, "Don't do the spell," versus in the film, he reluctantly agrees to doing it.
He's like, "Just don't involve me."
And I wonder where he was going. It seemed like he's
a good question.
Leaving for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we know he's coming back in Doctor Strange 2. But it'll be curious to see where he is between this one and that one.
Though I wonder whether I wonder when that takes place, because WandaVision took place just a week after Endgame, and this takes place like a year and a half after Endgame, something like that. So
I think it's like 8 months, because I feel that this one is like immediately after Far From Home, and then Far From Home was 8 months after. Right. So maybe
at this point 8 months after Far From Home, but by the end of this film, it's Christmas time. Which is
so
like
probably a little over a year.
Yeah. So, and I don't think I imagine Doctor Strange 2 doesn't happen immediately after this. I imagine there's at least a few more months afterwards. So it's a long time after WandaVision.
For sure.
See. The next thing I wrote was, so Peter gets help from Flash to get his friends into college, which brings him to the bridge where Doc Ock appears. And Doc Ock is perfectly introduced. He feels exactly the same.
Oh my God. It feels like the exact same character from Spider-Man 2. It was amazing.
Yeah. So let's see. I love how Peter is able to take control of him using his nanotech.
Yes. Oh my God. I didn't see that coming at all. And it was hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Oh man, really? I was thinking there was more of like there was a even more of a chance that um Doc Ock could take control of Spider-Man's suit than
Yeah.
not
I would
than
I would
him
have thought it.
taking control
I would have
of
thought it'd
Doc
go the other
Ock.
way around if either of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and my next thing was that we see a pumpkin bomb, and Peter says that he saw a Green Goblin, but I don't remember actually seeing Green Goblin in the scene. And maybe he was really off in the distance or something, but I didn't actually notice seeing him. Did you?
Right. I feel like that may have been like when he came in through the smoke. I can't remember exactly what happened after I think it was that Strange got them back to the sanctum right after that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, well, because I remember I think Ox said Norman on the bridge.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what happened. So they probably saw him for just a split second.
When that happened, I was thinking that Doc Ock saw the pumpkin bomb and recognized it as Norman's design or something. But
right, yeah,
it was
sure.
It could be that they saw him, but we didn't.
Right, yeah, maybe.
So let's see. The next thing is both Peter and Doc Ock are sent to the sanctum, where we find out that anyone who knows Peter is Spider-Man might come through, and Strange already caught the lizard, which
right.
I really want to know how he found the lizard.
Yeah, no, that would have been interesting. I mean, obviously, like the main villains that they focused on were like Doc Ock, Goblin, and Electro. So I think Lizard and Sandman kind of got the short end of that stick a little bit, but that would have been interesting. One of those extra scenes in the extra 5-10 minutes.
I can't see Doctor Strange going into the sewers to find a lizard. Like it feels like he wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I can't see him at least willingly.
Yeah. So next thing was Strange tells Peter that he has to find the rest of the multiverse people. So Peter brings his friends to the sanctum, and Strange says one of the best lines I've ever heard of. Scooby-Doo this shit.
Scooby-Doo this shit. Yep. It was funny when they did that in the trailers. I had a feeling that they would probably change that in the movies to what they changed it to, because I was thinking back to the Ant-Man trailers when it was Scott and Hank, and they were just going, "My days of breaking into places and stealing stuff are done," and then they changed it to "My days breaking into places and stealing shit are done."
Yeah.
So I was thinking it's going to be something like that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether they would change it or not. And I would have been fine either way, whether they changed it or not. But I did see one of the hosts from New Rock Stars post on Twitter how they think it's definitely gonna be changed in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, probably Eric Voss or something.
I think it was MT, a Mastertainment.
Okay. Yeah. Those guys are great though.
After making fun of Doc Ock's hilarious name, they get to work and find someone who's causing destruction at a military base. And I think right after this, Doc Ock said it can't be Norman, because if it is, he's a ghost. I think is what he said.
Right. Yeah, you're going off fighting a ghost. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Let's see. The next thing we have is Peter turns his suit inside out because someone threw paint on it.
Yep.
And he finds Electro in all his blue glory taking electricity.
Yeah, for sure. No, that was pretty good. And then and I remember we'd heard that whole suit turning inside out thing from back a while ago from I think it was Cosmic Wonder on Twitter. And yeah, and that was kind of cool seeing how that worked out. I'm bummed the scene of him actually getting splashed with the paint didn't happen, because I think that that was maybe supposed to be his brother, but yeah.
Oh, that would be cool if that was the scene with his brother. I remember him saying that his brother's scene was supposed to be a drug dealer that he stops.
Yeah, like some trying to drug dealer or bank robber or something. But I would have loved to see both of those.
Yeah, it really would have been cool.
Yeah.
So and about the Electro, I'm so happy that they actually show a transition from him being the blue to the new look for Electro. Oh,
To looking like Jamie Foxx. Yeah.
yeah, because honestly, unlike most people, I actually thought it was kind of a cool look in the him being blue. I was
Right.
happy that we got at least a tiny bit of that in the film before he changes.
Yeah, for sure.
And also that they weren't like, oh, he's yellow, even though he wasn't before. We're not going to actually explain it. I really wouldn't have liked it if they weren't they didn't explain why he changed.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see, where's next note. Which turns him into a normal person with yellow electricity, and Sandman and protects Peter from Electro and helps Peter defeat Electro, which I thought that was really cool. Seeing at least one scene in the film of Sandman being kind of a hero, following on from where he was at last time we saw him.
Yeah, that was kind of cool seeing that nod to him actually kind of redeeming himself. I mean, it was definitely interesting that they sent him like down the full villain path in the end.
Oh, but yeah, like that surprised me so much. And
yeah,
though I didn't mind them doing it, I am very happy that they did follow him along from how he was of him being sort of becoming a hero at the end, and not just be like, oh yeah, he's a villain.
Right, exactly. Like, I love that they made that transition, that they made it clear that this was like the same one from Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. Let's see. Next thing was Electro made a funny comment about being naked. And so Peter finds him some clothes before taking it back to the sanctum. Which
anybody worry
about
really
me being butt-ass
naked?
That was hilarious here.
That was great. Yeah, Jamie Foxx got a way better run in this one than he did in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah.
So let's see. The next say. Peter stays behind to clean up the area so no one thinks he destroyed a military base, which I think that was kind of cool that they included that in it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, because he doesn't want to be doing any of this. No. He doesn't want to be the person that everybody thinks he is. So,
yeah. Back in the sanctum, Ned hilariously asked Peter if the tree is one of them, and one of the multiverse people, I think it was Electro, but I wasn't exactly sure. But they responded, "It's just a tree."
I think it was Electro. Yeah, that was great.
It really was. I think Electro had so many good comments while he was in those cells. Right. With the later he thought he's like, but MJ says, I will send you all back, and he's like, yeah, we trust that you will. We definitely trust you will. And then like right after that, be like, I don't know how this is Peter Parker's girlfriend.
That was great. Oh my god.
Oh man. So the next thing I had was that back in the sanctum. Oh wait, no, that was what I just said. I read. We see Norman in an alley leaving the broken mask behind as he wants to get away from the voices, and it feels very much like when Toby stops being Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't actually make that connection, but that's super cool. And one thing about that, I loved how this movie like played the two different sides of Norman. Weirdly enough, I think they did it better in this movie even than they did in his first movie.
Oh yeah, I think honestly, I think they did it so much better with Norman. And also, one thing when I went back and watched that first film is I felt it kind of was not as believable to me, of being scared of this character with how goofy his costume looked, and I think that they
Right.
definitely fixed that up in a way that still fits. It's with the timeline,
Yeah,
and I love
absolutely.
that. And also like how they in that first film, a lot of the CGI does not hold up well.
There's a few moments that really don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
like
mean, obviously,
I particularly noticed it in the scene in the and where what was it? It there was some like charity event that the Goblin crashed Ash with while MJ was with
oh yeah,
Harry.
The Unity Day festival.
That one particularly, I noticed like some of the CGI with when he was flying around was like, this doesn't look that great.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the one that always gets me is right after Uncle Ben is murdered, the CGI of Peter crawling on the walls. It's just
Oh,
it's weird.
I feel
Um,
like him crawling on the walls. How they should have done it where he was just where it was the wall was actually the floor, and did I feel like they could
well,
have
they
done
did
it
that. They
practically
did some
easily.
of it like they did some of it like that, but not all of it, I feel like.
Hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, back to this one.
Yeah. So we when Peter gets back to the say sanctum, he gets a call from May saying that one of the multiversal people just came into the homeless shelter, or this
Mhm.
being Norman. We thought, and who says he tried going home but found someone else living in his house, and
Mhm.
then and that something happened to his son in this universe. I wonder what happened to his son.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the big question is, does Norman Osborn exist in the MCU?
Well,
And
I'm thinking that he did. I don't think that he was rich and famous, but but I if he didn't exist in this universe, I don't think that there would have been sign about his son, a son to him mentioning
right. Yeah, for
like
sure.
he didn't say his son died, but it really felt like it's not like they were saying that his son died in this universe.
Yeah, he could have.
Uh, um. So my next note was that May tells Peter that he's not completely there, that he needs to help him. So, Peter takes him back to the sanctum. Uh,
Right.
um, which like that really does that for me, it brought up very much of like how cool it was how they tried to cure each one of these villains instead of just fighting them. I think that's such an
Yeah.
interesting idea to go about it.
It was very much reminiscent of this Peter Parker. Like it was very much in his characters. Even I remember watching Homecoming recently, and the whole time he was fighting Vulture, he was trying to, keep him alive. I mean, he was obviously trying to stop him for what he was doing,
Mhm.
but he wasn't trying to kill him by any means.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that is really what all Peter Parkers should be. What
Exactly. That's
all
the essence of Peter
Spider-Man.
Parker.
Yeah. Um, and I think for the most part with all of the versions, they were like that. Though I don't think it was with there was as explicitly like that as with this version. Maybe.
Right. Yeah, I think this one really like hit it home more than past versions, but I think all of them have
Mhm.
pretty much had that kind of mentality at some level.
Yeah. We get a conversation between all the villains where they figure out that they all died fighting Spider-Man,
Mhm.
which I'm very much wondering about how Lizard and Sandman died, because 'cause those characters did not die last time we had seen them.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing I'm thinking is that like Andrew Garfield's Spidey actually cured Lizard. Um like maybe that was his last moment as the Lizard in
Maybe.
his universe. Um like that's kind of what I'm thinking on that front, but yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, and also like so outside it actually is kind of a plot hole. Oh, if they may have explained it and I just didn't notice, but
Right.
Electro, he didn't know that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So why did he get taken through?
Right. Well, the one thing I've actually heard that's interesting about that theory is that when he was doing that thing at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, when he was becoming like pure energy, I remember somebody saying that he was like at that time he was gaining a bunch of knowledge or something like about the universe and stuff, maybe kind of like in a venomy sort of way. So maybe that could have been it.
Maybe.
Or and then we know that they come in right the moment before they die and stuff like that. So
Yeah. So that may be it. Um. See. Doctor Strange puts Norman in a cell and says he's gonna send them back where they came. Peter disagrees and takes the cube containing the spell.
yeah.
And they fight in the mirror dimension, and Peter traps Strange there and takes his sling ring, which I thought was so cool.
That was a great fight scene. Yeah.
Yeah. And even like this, the Lee chase before they got into the mirror dimension was really there was so many cool moments with that.
Yeah,
with
for
the
sure.
Fight.
Right.
Let's see. Peter gets back to the sanctum and asks the multiversal man if they want to come with him so he can cure them, and they reluctantly agree.
Yeah, takes them all to Happy's place. That was, oh my god, that was funny as hell.
Oh god, yeah. Let's see. So yeah, Peter gives the cube to MJ and Ned, and this is where MJ says they better not try anything because she won't hesitate to send him back. And how they believe her, don't understand how she's Peter Parker's girlfriend.
That was great.
Yeah, Peter takes him to Happy's apartment and shows them the fabricator, which I've heard some theories that the reason why Happy got arrested is for having this fabricator at his house. Which
okay.
I don't know about that. I feel like I don't see Happy being someone who would have stole technology for some reason.
I don't think so either, but maybe just like everything in that whole Stark Industries raid just kind of like maybe came back to him just because how close he was with Tony and everything.
Yeah. So Peter and Norman get to work to cure Doc Ock, and after some time they figure it out and they put the implant on him. I at first thought that Doc died, but happily he regained consciousness, so it worked.
Yeah, that was great with the inhibitor ship.
The reason I was thinking that he died was I was thinking that they may have taken him actually not from the moment before he died, but after he died, and the tentacles had just taken over his body.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because when Alfred Molina talked about coming back, he said that he didn't have to do anything because the tentacles did everything for him. Right. That he was basically like a walking meat stick or something.
Yeah, and that was just such a great moment when he got that back, when he like realized that he could control everything for the first time. And then I'm sure this is the next one on your list, but him giving him the integrated suit. I mean, that was such a cool moment.
Yeah, that wasn't the nice thing I wrote, but that yeah, that really was such a And there's another thing that I didn't write down because I wasn't exactly I didn't remember exactly, but I remember but I remember there being a really cool conversation between Sandman and Electro. I think it was about falling into places,
something like that. Yeah, because it was Electro fell into the vat of electric eels, and then Sandman fell into that experiment that gave him his powers.
Yeah. Which that was a really fun conversation.
It's a cool connection, especially since they were from different universes.
Yeah. The next thing I have is that they put something on Electro to cure him, and Peter starts working on Norman to try and fix him, but the Goblin comes out and he gets all the villains to be on his side, and it's just right before the last point, before Electro would be cured.
Yeah, he was like this close to being cured again.
Oh man. And let's see. Electro pulls the cure off the thing off that's supposed to cure him, and May takes the cure for Goblin downstairs.
Right.
Which I wonder why she did that. Did she expect that they were going to go down to the lobby?
I don't know. She was probably just trying to. I bet she was just freaking out, trying to help any way she could.
Yeah. Peter fights Goblin till they get down to the lobby, and as Goblin is about to kill Peter, May injects Goblin, but it doesn't work.
Right.
And Goblin throws a bomb before he leaves.
Oh my god.
I bet the reason it didn't work is that Goblin probably put something in it to make it so it wouldn't work, and they didn't notice.
Yeah, while Norma was trying to work on it, the Goblin did something.
But yeah. I feel like honestly, what they should have done is that and not the movie they should have done, but the characters should have done is that they particularly because they know that there's these alternate personalities for Norman, they should have, at least for his cure, not had him working on it and not had him knowing that they were working on it.
Right, exactly.
Like it wouldn't have made sense as for them to tell Doc Ock that that they're curing him beforehand, so that because he would probably have figured out a way to break through the mind through Peter's is controlling him if he knew the tentacles knew that they were being going to be taken away.
They wouldn't want to be cured. Exactly.
Yeah. May gets hit, and right before dying, she tells Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. And Happy arrives outside, sees this, and immediately gets arrested for some reason.
Yeah, man, that was, oh my God, I was in tears seeing that. God. I mean, May dying, her finally giving him that line, and what actually happened with when she died? Because like she was standing before that, it looked like she wasn't bleeding much, and then all of a sudden she falls over and she is bleeding. Yeah, I mean she was probably bleeding the whole time, but I'm betting it was just like
adrenaline or shock, something like that.
Yeah, okay. Probably something like that, because that could have pushed her on enough to stand up that whole time before she fell.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we see MJ and Ned at Ned's mom's house, worried since Peter hasn't called them. So
they're about
Ned,
to,
while holding the sling ring, says, "I wish to find Peter
Parker."
And a portal opens, but it's not our Peter. Andrew Garfield arrives and says his name is Peter.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
Man, it's funny. At the theater I was at, that was like the first moment where the crowd just truly went absolutely nuts.
Yeah. It wasn't nearly as big, but the first moment in my theater was when Matt Murdock arrived.
Yeah, I had a decent reaction when Matt Murdock showed up. There's a decent reaction from the crowd, but it wasn't even close to when Andrew Garfield showed up. And like, here's funny is we knew this was coming, or we thought we knew this was coming for most of the past year, and it was still amazing. It didn't even matter.
Like, this is a sign that I've actually been wanting for a long time. So I only recently, like this year, as I've actually been able to control when I go see movies myself. I've been going opening weekend things, and before that, I wasn't going opening weekend things. So I never really got to experience those crowd reactions of like everyone going crazy. And it was so
Yeah,
cool to me to actually see everyone going crazy when something happens.
that was amazing.
Oh god. Yeah. Um so my essay was that they try to get identification, but he says he doesn't keep an ID because it
Yeah,
uh
the whole secret identity thing.
yeah. So he shows them his powers. They still don't believe him, although I think they did believe him.
Crawl around a little bit.
They just wanted to see him crawl because they thought it'd
Yeah,
be
well,
funny.
as you said, MJ was a very distrustful person, and he respected that. So
uh, um, and he Ned's mom asked that he clean up some webs that are in the
the
corner.
cobwebs.
Oh, I love that.
That was great.
The and so Ned tries again, but he still doesn't find our Peter. Out comes Tobey
Tobey
Maguire.
Maguire. Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah. It's funny. I think that one actually got even a bigger cheer than Andrew for me. Because I think because everybody knew that Andrew was going to be in the movie just because how much he had talked about it and denied it so much. We hadn't heard a thing from Tobey Maguire throughout this whole thing. And yeah.
I think in my theater, I think if I remember right, there was actually a little bit bigger for Andrew Garfield than there was for Tobey Maguire. And I think that's mostly because at first you're not able to tell that it's Tobey Maguire because he's not in a Spider-Man suit.
Exactly. Yeah.
So versus it's so it's you immediately see he comes out of the portal with Andrew Garfield wearing his suit.
The eyes and the
So you know that that shit just went down.
Shit just got real.
I loved how they immediately their first instinct was to shoot each other with their webs.
That was great. Oh my god. And we'll get to more later, but the whole thing with them and Toby's webs was perfect.
Oh my god. Wait, yeah, I'll keep so later. The so I thought I was really interesting about that. See, Ned's mom says that she's going to bed. Then so please clean all the webs up. Which I thought I thought it was really funny.
Right.
How both Toby and Andrew were just like, yes, ma'am.
That was great because they're still just nice, respectful people.
Yeah. I really love that they for this first scene with those two, they had like this had someone who's older than everyone who they're supposed to respect because I think that helped a lot with the scene.
Yeah, I kind of brought him back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah,
totally.
So the next thing I have, they ask MJ and Ned if there's anywhere Peter goes to be alone, and MJ knows the place, and they both mention where they would. I think Toby said the Chrysler building, and then Andrew said
the Empire State.
Yeah.
I know it was one way or the other, but it was the Chrysler building and the Empire State building for sure.
Which that was I like that they them mentioning how they're different places. So
for sure.
They go to the top of the school and they find Peter is obviously mourning that is
devastated. Yeah.
MJ tells Peter that there's some people here to see him. So Peter meets the other Peters where he tells him that he doesn't care anymore. That he's just gonna send them back to die.
Right.
Oh my god, there's particularly moments like this where it's so beautiful. Tom's acting and he's he so much emotion.
Yeah, I mean this was my favorite like Tom Holland performance in the MCU. He absolutely nailed it the whole way through.
Yeah, he really did. And I think we saw so many different parts of him that we've never got to see before, at least in the MCU.
Yeah, totally.
I think like the closest thing to how to some of the parts of how emotional he got in this. Last time I saw it was in the when he was only like 13 years old in The Impossible.
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that before?
It's on my list. I need to see that one. I've heard he's great in it.
I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't remember a lot from it, but I remember him being incredible in it.
Yeah, for sure.
So the Peters tell him how they lost Uncle Ben and how Andrew lost Gwen, and Peter says that Aunt May told him with great power comes, and they respond great responsibility.
Yeah. And I love that they did that right before he met the other Peters, so they could all kind of have their moment with it. That was great.
Though I was surprised that our Peter doesn't mention Uncle Ben, because that at least that kind of to me cemented that there wasn't really like that impactful a thing for him with Uncle Ben in this universe at all.
Right. It was more with May.
Yeah, but we do know that there was an Uncle Ben in this universe, because I'm pretty sure they showed in Far From Home a suitcase with his initials. BFB. So
Ben Franklin Parker.
I wonder if he just either died from natural causes or Peter was too young to know him.
Yeah. Maybe we'll find out in the Spider-Man freshman year, that animated series that's coming to Disney Plus.
Maybe. I hope they're able to get Tom Holland to voice the character in that. Though I imagine that I could see there being legal issues for them doing that, though, because Sony likes to be annoying.
Yeah, like that. Totally.
Which I'm pretty sure is the reason why they weren't able to have him in What If, was because they legally weren't allowed to use Tom Holland and sign this not joint production or sign.
For sure, yeah.
So let's see. The next thing I have was they say how they don't want our Peter to become cold.
Yeah.
Which was really beautiful. I don't remember, even though I did just see those films, I don't remember either of them once they really become Spider-Man actually doing anything where they became cold in those films. Right.
But losing that humanity.
Yeah. I know Toby did before he became Spider-Man, right after Uncle Ben's death, he became kind of cold, but
and I talked about it. Yeah.
I don't think Andrew we ever saw anything like that with him.
Not too much. Yeah.
They all go down to I think it was the lab in the school to create the cures. I'm not sure about that.
I feel like it probably was. Yeah.
Like it would make the most sense that they would go down there because it was the closest thing, but also I feel like the school would not have like all the chemicals needed for something
to make stuff like that.
High tech or complicated as this.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh man, the scene in the in that lab, though, they had some of probably I think the best jokes in the entire MCU.
That was amazing. That whole scene.
God.
I promise you, I will not turn into a supervillain and try to kill you.
Though he may if he somehow point finds out that Peter didn't go and try and reconnect with him after the spell at the end.
Could be, very well could be.
Honestly, with throughout all the scenes with the three Peters being together, I was just grinning from ear to ear the whole time watching.
Oh my god, me too. I was smiling the entire time.
Yeah. So, let's see. My next note is I was how that I was what I just said of the greatest air with all the Spider-Man. We see our Peter call into the Daily Bugle to say that he's at the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was really interesting seeing him call into his kind of adversary and because he knows that his adversary has a big audience to be like,
Absolutely.
please, I need you all right now.
Totally. Yeah. It showed how vulnerable he was in that moment.
Yeah. And it shows how J.J. Jameson has no effect on him. He's not.
Oh no.
He is not going to let that put him down. Seeing J.J. Jameson,
even though he was berating him the entire time.
Yeah. The three Spideys are setting stuff up while talking to each other about web blocks, villains, and Andrew needing to feel better about himself.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. That felt like such a fan moment, the whole amazing thing. And it totally worked for me.
Yeah, it
and
really
like,
did.
And I loved how they did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is also where they talk about the web blocks, which you said you had some stuff about that you want to talk about.
Yeah, no, just like
or web blocks and his organic webbing as well.
Yeah. Just like, well, the one that was hilarious was Ned yelling in the lab, "Did that just come out of you?" And and then just them talking about where else does it come out. I mean, that was hilarious and perfectly Spider-Man.
It really was, and I thought it was interesting how Toby, he doesn't want to talk about it. It's
yeah,
very
absolutely
personal to him, which there's sign that I kind of felt with with the original Spider-Man movies, especially when he had lost his powers, of like it kind of be like erectile dysfunction, and and I think this even more
now
makes it feel like it's kind of sign like that with like that with how he was acting about them talking about it.
But then the whole existential crisis thing was great too.
Yeah. Though I think it was it's kind of it was kind of an existential crisis, but also it was kind of just like he is refusing to let himself be with MJ, which was what it caused it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Which is kind of like he's forcing blue balls on himself.
Yeah, totally.
So let's see. Next thing. Wait, the thing with the villains, like I really like seeing them talk about like Thanos and
Rhino
Toby's version of Venom, and Rhino is like
that was great.
Oh god,
I'm getting over the fact that you fought an alien in space.
Yeah. Oh man, it was so cool. Like, next thing I have, the villains are coming to fight them, and the Peters have trouble teaming up until Tom tells them about working with the Avengers.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And Toby be like, "The Avengers, that's great. What's that?
What's that?" Exactly. What, are you in a band?
Yeah. And that scene, that was the pointing meme.
No, absolutely. It was the Spider-Man pointing meme.
And I didn't even notice that when I was first watching it, but like someone mentioned on Twitter, I was like, yeah, it is.
Right? They totally nailed that.
Yeah, it was so perfect. And it's done in a way where it's like not obvious at first, so it's not just
it's not just a blatant ripoff of it.
Yeah. I love how every Peter gets a moment with their villains as they cure them.
For
specifically sure. with the one with Andrew and Electro. And that was really beautiful. The conversation between them, And then and I really like how Electro is like I thought there was a black Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Like, so
just a subtle, not so subtle Miles Morales tease right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was great.
So Doctor Strange gets out of the mirror dimension thanks to Ned. And
I've been falling for 12 hours.
Which I feel like that was kind of a reference to the scene in Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely it was.
So and then the goblin immediately takes the cube. And I don't remember exactly what happened that made a MJ fall. I'm guessing it was the goblin pushed her or something, maybe.
It was either that or I can't remember exactly, but I do love that moment. Like Holland leaves for her, and then the goblin catches him in it, and Garfield gets his moment of redemption. That was one of my favorite parts of the entire movie.
Yeah, and like how right after saving her, it makes him cry because that's how Gwen died. Well, MJ didn't really cry much. I don't remember.
Well, yeah.
And she was like, "Wait, why are you crying?
Like, are you okay?"
Yeah, like, it was so it really was kind of beautiful. Tom's Peter is able to make the goblin crash, but goblin puts a bomb in the cube, which starts breaking the multiverse.
Yep.
And Peter starts punching the goblin, and he's about to kill him, but Toby stops him. Yep. And the goblin stabs Toby.
That was such a great moment.
Oh man, like I remember a while back there being people who were being like, that Toby's probably gonna die in this one. And I was like, I hope that they don't kill off a spider people in the film. And I'm so happy that even though he got stabbed, that he did live.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. The next thing I have is Tom's Peter goes to Strange, who says everyone who knows Peter is Spider-Man is starting to come through, and he can't stop them. They showed some figures in those clouds, and I'm really I really want to try and go once the film comes out on like DVD or on Disney Plus. I want to figure out what who that was, because it definitely was not some normal person or something. There was like some weapon. I saw some weapon with
Craven. I've heard Rhino. I've heard a lot of different things.
Like, honestly, the first thing that came to my mind with the shape of it was the celestial that's seen in Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it was called Isan the Searcher, or who has that staff.
Yeah,
it kind of looked like that shape to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Next thing I have is Tom suggests that he does a spell to make everyone forget about Peter Parker. And I've heard some people talking about this, whether or not this is just in our universe or if it's in all of the multiverse. And I'm hoping it's just in our universe, because
me too.
It kind of paints Peter in a bad light if it were in the whole multiverse and he didn't even go to the other Peters and be like, hey, are you guys okay with no one knowing who you are?
Exactly.
Like that would have been it would be awful, I think, if they he did that.
I'm gonna assume it was just in the MCU. But...
Yeah. Let's see. Then so the next thing I have is he then says goodbye to the other Spider-Man and to MJ and Ned.
Yeah.
And I love how since they didn't really have any other people in the film that would be could be like considered their friends, it's like Toby and Andrew, they bonded very much together there throughout the film,
Absolutely.
and so it was that was really cool. And they honestly, I think some of the best chemistry in the entire MCU is from the three Spider-Man together.
That their whole thing together was incredible. Like they did such a good job for this being their first movie altogether.
Yeah, and that honestly surprised me how well they worked together.
Me too.
Of the chemistry, because a lot of
Me too.
times two different actors won't or actors who are playing the same role, they may not have any chemistry with each other.
Exactly. And it's not that they could change them because they're the historic characters.
Yeah. There's a time jump, and we see our Peter go to MJ and Ned, who to tell them who he is, but he decides against it.
Yeah. Oof.
Which I don't know how I feel about him not telling them what who he is.
I hope he changes his mind later.
Yeah, because I love these characters, and I don't want to lose those characters because of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like he should have at least, though, particularly told Happy when he's at the grave.
I wish,
because all he could have said, all he needed to say when Happy asked how he knew May, is just say she was my aunt. And that would have worked. That would have worked perfectly.
Even
he
she was family.
Have to tell. Doesn't have to get into any specifics or anything, and he didn't even do that.
Yeah, even she was family.
Yeah, so that really surprised me.
Me too. Like how dedicated he was to that.
He gets its apartment, and though I'm not sure if it was actually Mr. Ditkovich, it definitely is a reference to him.
Yeah, I was thinking that. It didn't sound like him specifically, but I really hope so.
It definitely didn't sound like that same accent that was in those first films.
Yeah.
Which, like, when I was going back and watching those first three films, I was surprised by how much I was laughing by the stuff with Mr. Ditkovich.
He was great. He was definitely one of my favorite parts of those last couple movies.
Let's see. We see him swinging one last time before the credits, and I think he's in really the perfect Spider-Man suit.
Oh my god, I can't wait to get a better look at that suit because looked perfect.
Yeah, I'm so happy that they went back to the red and blue, because I never was a big fan of the red and black design, and I rather those classic colors of red and blue.
Yeah, I didn't mind the red and black, but I like the red and blue better. And I love too that it looked like he took inspiration from both Garfield and Maguire's suit along with his own. I mean, that was amazing. It was a perfect tribute.
Yeah. So our first credit scene is of Eddie and Venom getting drunk at a bar, asking about Thanos and Hulk before getting sent back to his universe, but a bit of Venom stays behind.
That's good. I mean, that's the one thing that made me okay with that scene, is that at least we might get a little Venom in the MCU.
Yeah, I'm wondering though, with that scene, since this Venom symbiote is in like South America or something, and it is not anywhere near New York, or I'm wondering how it's gonna get there.
Right, for sure.
Also, is it still gonna be Tom Hardy's voice?
Right. I mean, that would be pretty cool. I kind of hope so, at least.
Yeah, I really do hope so. Also, something I was thinking about with that, and I feel like them doing that confirms that there is no version of the Venom symbiote that was already in the MCU. Which I kind of wish that there was, because there is a lot of cosmic things with the symbiotes in the comics that I think it would be great if they could get into like I think I remember Gore the God Butcher's blade. It's supposed to have something to do with the symbiotes.
Yeah,
So
I think so. I know he's got something to
and
do with symbiotes.
and
So
that's and I feel like they can't really do that now if they're saying that that they had to bring in a little piece of it to into the
from another
universe.
universe, yeah.
Yeah. Um is like though I haven't read a lot of those Thor comics, like I've read into like those characters a little bit of like hey, there's some really interesting dark stuff that they can do with that
Yeah, for sure.
like there was last year there was something that's no, it's not directly Gore the God Butcher. There was not, it was like something in like a level above him that they were doing in the comics where it was the Black Winter, I think it was called, which was so insanely dark. It destroyed a bunch of universes.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really interesting if they brought that into the MCU at some point. Since like they made one of the most massive crossover events with that storyline because they crossed it over into Fortnite, which even though I don't like Fortnite, I gotta admit it is the biggest crossover of all time. As a lot of those crossovers, they have made deals to make them be canon.
Right, absolutely.
It is canon to that 616 universe in the comics, except that happened within Fortnite, and that also which also connects it to Star Wars because it's canonically in the Star Wars universe, and it's also canonically in the DC universe. So, I think it would be really interesting if they brought that level above Gore or God Butcher. I think there's even a chance that they could do that because of the multiverse stuff, and they're doing Gore or the God Butcher, and they're also having stuff with Venom going on.
Right.
Yeah. So, the second credit scene is the fantastic teaser for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Oh my god.
That was already high on my list for movies I couldn't wait for. It just shot up even more.
Yeah, and I'm wondering. So we're seeing a lot from stuff with the box office for Spider-Man: No Way Home, and it is like just behind. I think it was either Infinity War or Endgame for the domestic box office for opening weekend, and
yeah.
I'm wondering what's gonna come for the Doctor Strange because
Doctor Strange could easily top that.
I think honestly, there's part of me that's like it could easily top it because that is within universe the bigger story than what's going on with this, but this has definitely has had more hype surrounding it than that film has.
Right. Well, the thing too is that they've kept so much of Doctor Strange a secret. Like they haven't had even close to the leaks that Spider-Man has had, which hopefully should mean really good things for people wanting to go see it.
Yeah. Though I think that a big reason why No Way Home is doing so well for its opening weekend is because of those leaks.
Partly.
Those leaks created the hype for the film,
right?
Made it so that they didn't even have to do much of promoting the film. So I'm really interested in finding out what's going to happen with the with how box office is going to work out with Doctor Strange as well.
Agreed. But yeah, that teaser was amazing.
Oh yeah, I found it really interesting how Doctor Strange was like, I don't care about what happened in Westview. I'm here to ask for your help, actually, and it's not gonna be the what came from that.
What came from WandaVision, exactly.
Yeah. I'm wondering how exactly that film is going to connect all of these different multiversal sequences, because honestly, there's so many of them, and they all feel like they could sort of connect. They all
Right.
don't feel like they could fully connect to each other.
Yeah.
Like the events of Loki definitely don't really connect to the events of Spider-Man and what happened in this. And then,
But they probably do to Doctor Strange.
yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And I really hope that Kang appears in Doctor Strange.
At least a little bit. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I really do. It is weird to me how his main appearance is gonna be an Ant-Man.
That is kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall for the film, this is now my favorite Spider-Man film. Yes, there are some things I didn't like, but it's epic and has some the best performances I've seen from all the actors in this 8-film franchise. And it
Mhm.
has some of the best comedy in the entire MCU and Spider-Verse, and it's very emotional and beautiful. Oh, what would your overall thoughts on the film be?
I mean, it's not only my favorite Spider-Man film. Like I was saying, this is my top MCU movie ever over Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, Winter Soldier, all of those.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is almost a perfect movie to me, especially in terms of comic book movies. I mean, it is an
Yeah.
absolute experience. I have been wanting to be back in the theater already, seeing it for the last 2 days, and I saw it on opening night.
Yeah, I'm planning on trying to go again on Wednesday when I have two of my brothers in town that I'll try and get go see it with them. And
Nice.
I'm hoping that thing we saw in the group chat out of there being a extra scene. I hope that's actually a reality.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm already planning on another showing this weekend once weather calms down for me. But I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah. And it'll be and on Wednesday when I go see it, there won't be quite as big of a crowd, most likely. Versus so I won't be having to worry about trying to buy tickets in advance.
For sure.
Yeah. So the next section of my show is I have some trivia I find from IMDb that I found interesting. So the first thing I have here was J.K. Simmons had enjoyed playing J. Jonah Jameson in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy and admitted to have been heartbroken that he wouldn't be able to revisit the character in a fourth film. Naturally, when Marvel approached him to reprise his role in Far From Home, Stinger, and this film, he jumped at the chance. Simmons also expressed interest in adapting Jameson into the modern day era, describing him more as a media blowhard than a newspaper editor.
Yeah, for sure.
When Strange smacks Peter's astral form from his body, you can see that Peter's head has transparent versions of the classic wavy spider sense lines.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that scene is a scene we didn't really talk about, but I think it was interesting how somehow Peter was able to still control his body, though honestly I wasn't sure whether it actually was Peter was controlling his body because he didn't know what was going on when that was happening.
I'll be curious to see what they say about that scene. Yeah.
Let's see. Next thing we have is this film marks the first MCU trilogy to be directed by the same same director of John Watts.
Yep.
All previous film franchises such as Iron Man, Avengers, and Captain America had only two consistent directors throughout their respective trilogies. For his appearance in what were you about to say?
I can't wait to see what he does with Fantastic Four after this movie because he's gonna absolutely nail it. And then B, he even takes this over Peyton Reed and James Gunn, who've actually been around for longer in the MCU.
Yeah, and I think for Fantastic Four, though, maybe at some point we should have a film that's like this film. But I think honestly, for the Fantastic Four's first one, I would probably want it more tonally to be like Homecoming.
I agree.
thing than
Yeah.
this is for I don't think it should be as like
Monumental.
fast paced as this one was.
Right, for sure.
Um, but yeah, I definitely trust him completely with Fantastic Four, and I'm so
Yeah.
interested in finding out who they cast in those roles.
Agreed. That's the
Uh,
casting. The casting I can't wait for most.
yeah, isn't that film coming out like um 2023 or is it 2024 or I feel like soon they should be putting castings out there before leakers get them.
I think the rumor is that they're starting to film in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. So probably 24 or 25 or something.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, they don't have a date for it at all.
I thought they did, but okay, no, I guess you're probably right. You probably know more than me. You're a lot more into these. You're not interested, but not you're a lot more like in the know on things than I am.
I try to be.
Yeah. Since you have to write articles about things.
Yeah.
For his appearance in this film, Alfred Molina was digitally de-aged to make him appear as he did in Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2. Yep.
And his mechanical tentacles were created through CGI rather than through puppetry, like in the 2004 film, which they did. I think this was probably one of their best times of de-aging.
I agree, especially with Molina.
Mm-hmm. And though it's not connected to this at all. Something that just popped into my mind while I was thinking about this. I'm surprised there wasn't like any kind of like pictures on the wall or somewhere of Stan Lee, just to keep his memory in this.
I'll have to look for that, but yeah, I kind of
Like,
wish they had done that.
I tried looking in the scene at the school to see if like they put him on that mural that's but I don't think they did.
Yeah,
I feel like that would have been a great place for a Stan Lee to be. Let's see. Sam Raimi was very happy to see Dr. Octopus in this film's first trailer, praising the character's appearance in tentacle animation, while also expressing his excitement to see the full film. This will mark apparently Jon Favreau's 10th involvement in the MCU after the Iron Man trilogy, the Avengers quadrilogy, and the Spider-Man films.
Yeah, for sure.
Unlike the blue color scheme he had in his first film appearance, Electro's lightning now matches the golden color of his original comic design, and his electricity can form a mask in front of his face, resembling the star-shaped mask of his classic comic book counterpart. Which I think that was a really cool thing that they added. I love how the MCU, they're able to make these classic designs in a way where they don't look stupid.
Oh God, absolutely! Like they made the designs look incredible this time around.
Oh yeah, and there were some of the trailers where I think like the CGI didn't look great for Electro. He kind of looked like a video game character, but he didn't look like that at all in the actual film.
No, they fixed it up really well.
Yeah. Apparently, William Dafoe went to the premiere wearing a green face mask, which I think it's a really simple thing from that I found from IMDb, but I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, he loves it.
Yeah. When Peter Parker is suiting up on top of the car, the taxi cab behind him, and the numbers on the taxi read 1228. Well, this is a reference to Stan Lee's birthday, which is December 28th, 1922. Mm-hmm. The address of the Sanctum Sanctorum and Doctor Strange is 177A Bleecker Street, and in Spider-Man 2, the pizza place where Peter is fired from is located at 233 Bleecker Street, less than a block away.
Yep, and then Peter mentions that he saw MJ's poster on Bleecker. They also mentioned Doctor Strange in that movie just as a joke.
Oh yeah. I honestly kind of wish that they that one of the villains was like, I've heard of someone in our universe being called Doctor Strange. It's like, because
Right.
to follow up on that reference, I think that would have been really cool if some of them did that.
That would have been funny. Yeah.
Or even like one of the other Spider-Men being like, I don't recognize anyone else in this universe, but I recognize you. Like, when they see
Yeah, for
Doctor
sure.
Strange, like, uh, um, the Green Goblin mockingly delivers a speech to Peter about the nature of choice, much like he did to the Peter Parker of his universe in Spider-Man. He
Yep.
also warns Peter that no good deed goes unpunished, which is essentially the message of his "in spite of everything you've done" lecture to his universe's Spidey.
Eventually they'll
Um,
hate you. Yep.
yeah. The first trailer has become the most watched trailer, receiving 355.5 million global views in the first 24 hours, surpassing the previous record holder of Avengers Endgame, which drove 289 million views, which it really does go to show how much, how even though that one is a more, I think, a more monumental film within the context of the universe, this is
Yeah.
just as big of a film as that is.
I agree. I think Endgame is a bigger film, like you said, within the MCU itself, but
Mm-hmm.
just in terms of movies, this is, I think it almost blows it out of the water.
Yeah. Um, and I really, so I was wondering after Endgame of like, how do you go from here where people don't get like, is you always have to go bigger and better with your next film, and
Right.
how do you go from Endgame? And they figured out a way where they can go from there where it doesn't feel forced, and
Nope.
it also does feel bigger than it
Yeah,
felt.
absolutely. Yeah, they did
Mhm.
it naturally and organically and they made it work.
Yeah. See, the next thing I have is just before Strange chases Peter into the mirror dimension, he runs past a newsstand selling copies of People magazine. The current
Yep.
issue features an exclusive interview with Liz Toombs regarding Peter's outing and calling him a liar, which this isn't something I noticed when watching the film, but I think that's really cool that they included something to make sure that people remember that Walter and his family still exist.
Yeah, I remember we did an article at the Direct. I didn't write it, but I remember we did that because that came in one of the clips that came out before the movie,
Oh,
and someone noticed that we wrote an article on it. That was pretty cool.
yeah. So let's see. My next thing is with a runtime of 148 minutes. Spider-Man No Way Home is currently the longest Spider-Man movie, beating out The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which ran for 141 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like just behind Endgame as the longest MCU film as well.
I think it's
Um,
behind Endgame and Eternals. Eternals is
yeah,
like maybe
maybe
just a few minutes longer.
yeah, that seems to be what I remember seeing. Um, Dr. Octopus's trench coat attire, which still is far more grounded than his depictions in the mainstream Marvel universe, is slightly adjusted from his appearance in Spider-Man 2 to look more closely to the colors of the character that the character wears in the pages of Ultimate Spider-Man.
Nice. Very
Which,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, I really liked how the look that Dr. Octopus had in this. Like,
I agree.
and I think it was a good way of making it so that it's very much like how his old one looked, but
Just
it's an
slightly
upgrade.
different.
It's just a little bit of
Yeah,
an upgrade.
for sure.
Um,
Absolutely.
let's see. Jameson incredulously asks if the lizard is a dinosaur, and Captain George Stacy from the Lizard's universe mockingly
Yep.
calls him a dinosaur in the Amazing
Dinosaur.
Spider-Man.
Yep.
Um, In that same scene, Jameson is shown wearing a very similar outfit to the one in his Raimi-verse counterpart wore when witnessing the Spider-Man fight with Sandman and Venom.
In 3. Yep.
Yeah. Um, Flash Thompson's book is titled Flashpoint, which is a funny dig at DC, longtime competitors of Marvel,
I
as
noticed.
they
I
have
noticed
a
that.
famous storyline with that same name.
which is
center
going to
rather
be
than character.
in the Flash next year. Yep.
And a similar thing was seen in Spider-Man Homecoming, in which Flash answers a question in class, and the teacher says, "Just because you're fast doesn't mean you're right."
Yeah. Sometimes it's not always good to be the fastest if you're wrong.
Yeah, and I love these like small references to each other, because
yeah, for sure.
that was I remember like in the comics there's so much like they always for a long time they had this sort of feud with each other where they would always make these joking references to each other before they made a big crossover event, and which like I don't know whether I would want actually a big crossover event between the two in live action, but
me
I
too.
love that that feud that they had of where they would constantly reference each other or in sometimes insulting ways, and they're continuing that from where like in Eternals they did a lot of that with the Superman and the Batman stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm so happy that they're finally leaning into that that aspect from the comics.
I agree.
Yeah. Coincidentally, the film will be released in the 10-year anniversary of the canceled Spider-Man 4, as Spider-Man 4 was scheduled for a 2011 release.
Yep.
Electro admits to believing that the Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man was black under the mask. He figures correctly that there still must be another, as the black Spider-Man out there, referring to Miles Morales. Which
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I just hope that they don't kill off Peter Parker, because I want because I want to be able to see them team up.
Me too. I want to see Peter Parker take on that Tony Stark role that he did for Peter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like kind of like how the older Peter Parker in Spider-Verse was to Miles Morales.
Peter B. Parker. Yep.
Yeah. Honestly, it's one of my favorite versions of Spider-Man, as I love Jake Johnson.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. To preserve the secrecy of the film's production and to prevent their appearances from being leaked, Riot fans Tom Hayden Church and William Dafoe walked around the set with a cloak covering their costumes. Tom Holland accidentally bumped into Dafoe while cloaked, which is how the two first met on set, which I think is really cool.
That was great.
Until the film came out, I didn't know that they actually had Thomas Hayden Church and Ralph Ifans actually appearing in it. I was like I was hoping that they would, but I was like,
me too.
They like that was one thing that we didn't ever hear, whether they would actually appear themselves in it, or if it would just be CGI characters, which it was mostly that for the film, but they did get small appearances.
Yeah. Plus, it was recycled footage that they used from their old movies to actually do their human appearances.
It was. Yeah. I didn't notice that. I thought it was actually real stuff.
Or new stuff. At least Sandman's was for sure, and I think Rhys Ifans was too, maybe like an alternate take or something. But it looked pretty similar to what happened in Amazing Spider-Man.
I do think though that they did know that that they used those things before the film came out, because I do know that if fans, I'm not sure if that was supposed to be pronounced, but I know he did an interview like a week before the film came out where he was like, where someone asked him if he actually appears in the film, and he was like, well, I want you guys to wait till the finished product comes out. So that means he knew something.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The parts of the plot involving Spider-Man acing his identity borrow heavily from the 2010 story arc One Moment in Time and the 2007 story arc One More Day, both being written by Joe Costanza, which I don't remember whether there was anything in the credits about him. I know there was something about Aria Rad, but I feel like Joe Costanza probably deserves it more for or in the credits. Something being there for him.
For sure. I'll have to go back and see if he's in there. But yeah, no, like I said, I can't wait to see this movie again and look for all those little details I missed the first time.
Yeah. While on the roof of the school near the beginning of the film, there's some graffiti that says Ditko apparently on the wall.
Yep, it's in the first trailer.
Okay. Yeah, and all three of the actors who played Spider-Man and had 4 main villains in their respective franchises, with Tom Holland having the Vulture, the Shocker, Mysterio, and Thanos. Tobey Maguire having Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Sandman, and Venom. And finally, Andrew Garfield had the Lizard, Electro, Rhino, and Green Goblin, which I thought that was really interesting how they all had the same number of villains in their respective franchises.
That is interesting when you think about it. And all 3 of them had Green Goblin.
Yeah, though I don't this thing at least, so it's like us not counting anything from the actual film of the for this film's villains, because it's just counting those as from the other films. But yeah, they all technically have Green Goblin.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the answer to my trivia question from earlier was the Hulk.
Okay. The Hulk was the villain.
Yeah, my podcast, I always try to have a question for a trivia question at the beginning and have it do it at the end. And my podcast is mainly about the Hulk, so I thought I'm gonna try and find a trivia question that relates to both the Hulk and Spider-Man, since I'm doing the Spider-Man thing.
Good one.
So do you have any final thoughts before we end this off?
I cannot wait to see this movie again. As I keep saying, I will probably watch this thing a good few times in theaters, and I'll be watching it all the time when it comes out on digital and Blu-ray. Just give me this movie, inject it into my veins. This is an amazing experience.
And I don't think it will be immediately, but if I remember right, there was I think next year after No Way Home is when the deal is supposed to become in place for the Spider-Man films to be able to be on Disney Plus. So if I remember right,
I think it's sometime in 2022. I hope so. That'd be great.
Yeah, because I want to be able to actually watch all of these Spider-Man and MCU films all together on the same streaming service, though.
For sure.
I don't think we'll ever probably get the Incredible Hulk on there.
Nah, probably not.
Because Universal doesn't like to play with others.
No, they do not.
But I don't understand Universal's standpoint on this, because like they should be able to figure out by now that Marvel Studios has made the Hulk be popular again. So you can make a new Hulk film and it'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, plus there's the whole She-Hulk thing coming out too, which I'm really curious to see how that works out.
Yeah, that I'm so excited for She-Hulk. Because that is my of all the TV shows that are coming, that is my number one thing, and I'm most excited about. And I understand it is me being biased because I am a massive Hulk fan, but I'm
absolutely.
It just does look so good. It looks so accurate to the comics, and I'm so excited to see what her full look is like.
Yeah, me too.
But I'll be ending off this. So thank you for listening. If you like this Gamma analysis, please give a 5-star review. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the film, so please let me know. If you'd like to listen to more from me, please subscribe. Many more Gamma analysis is coming from me, so keep on the lookout. This again is your host, Smash Trivia John, signing off.